Hi, my name is Koku with blackfilm.com, and I'm here with Nzingha Stewart. She's a director. She's a very, very talented person. And I've wanted to talk to this woman for years. You guys might be most recently familiar with her with Daisy Jones and the Six, which is premiered on Prime Video. Thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, this is wonderful. I love talking about Daisy Jones and the Six.
No, Nzinga, for me, anyways, I love talking to people that are like not necessarily like the talent, right? Like in front of the camera. And I think when people see you, they're like, well, why don't she want to be on camera? She can do it. She cute. She cute. You know what I mean? She look good.
Thank
So
you.
like so when you meet that, like, because I know you don't want to do that. So like what do you think about that? Like when you hear that opposition?
It does not happen that often. I think I do think acting is a real talent and
Yeah,
craft and
sure.
skill. We are in
Mhm.
a time of like anybody can act, and I'm old school. I don't think anybody can act. I think if you
Mm.
don't have that talent, and you're not willing to put in the time to at least rely on your training, maybe don't do it. So
Oh, okay. Well, we live in a world now where everybody feels like they can do anything they want to do, and maybe that's not a bad thing, but you're right. It's like it's just whatever we decide to task ourselves with. That's
yeah.
yeah. So yeah,
And I don't want to discourage anyone.
no,
Anybody
I don't want to do
can
that.
do anything, but like it will probably produce content that I wouldn't watch. And so I wouldn't direct something I wouldn't watch. So I don't want to, that wouldn't be a viable path for me.
Mhm. Um, I know you've produced these episodes of Daisy Jones and the Six, and I think that it's really important, especially to talk about it like that you've done this as a Black woman, right? And it's not a show that's necessarily it's not a Black show per se.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about like to celebrate the fact that you're able to just do something cleanly as a director and someone that has, you put a lot of skin in this game. So what was that like for you to be like called upon for this?
Thank you for that. Because it did feel like a big
Mhm,
deal. I feel like we have the diversity conversation so often, and you'll get a foot in the door in like smaller projects or an episode of something, but to get EP credit, to do the finale of
mhm,
something so
mhm,
big in scope, I don't think we're always trusted with that. I think there's a lot of companies feel like they've met their quota with having an episode or two, and you know, Hello Sunshine really is backing up, what they're saying in terms of wanting to support women from all backgrounds. Like
mm,
if you have two blocks and two directors of those blocks, and one of them is Black and does the biggest block, that says something. And if the showrunner, or I guess the head of production of Hello Sunshine, it's her husband who is the showrunner, no project could be more precious to her. So
mm,
it really is saying she trusts me, she wants the very best she can get. And for her, that's me. And it meant
mhm.
a lot to me.
And then think, where did you grow up?
Kind of everywhere. My family is Jamaican, so it's been summers in Jamaica. I'm from Brooklyn. Then we moved to Atlanta,
Hey.
high school. So, and then I moved back to Brooklyn. Now I am in Los Angeles. Well,
Mm.
currently I'm in Chicago shooting. And
Actually I'm originally from Chicago.
oh, I'm loving
Yes,
it.
I'm originally. Yeah. How is Chicago treating you? Yeah, you're
I am
getting a
loving
cool.
it.
You're because I'm looking. You must be like in Streeterville. Like you're like in the nice part of Chicago. I can tell from the way.
Have stunningly gorgeous view, ninth
That
floor.
that's not the Chicago I'm from.
I love it here. Any place that has good music and good
Yeah,
food, I'm interested.
no,
And
Chicago has
this
wonderful
has
food.
both in abundance.
Wonderful food, but they will put hot Cheetos on everything,
I
and
like hot
Chicago will
Cheetos.
make
I'll take it.
Chicago will make you will gain weight. You will gain weight unexpectedly. Yeah.
Well, here's the
But
sad news. Here's a sad story for me. I'm
mm.
in Chicago during Ramadan.
I think are you Muslim or are you just
My
practicing?
husband, my husband is Muslim, and
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
so yeah, so I'm just sort of doing it in
Good for you.
support. Yeah.
And support. No, that's good for you. Good for you.
He
Good for
starts
you.
his whole family. He's alone in it. I feel bad. So, no, it's felt like just sort of every spiritual tradition has some form of fasting. So I felt like
Sure,
we
sure.
should do this too and be in some prayer and meditation, some
Hmm.
quiet time during this time while I
Hmm.
support him.
I want to go back to this because again, with you again choosing directing as a passion, it's hard for a woman to do that. And you've done that, and you started off with music videos, and then you obviously you've gotten to a point now in your career where you're doing television shows and so forth. How hard was that for you to even like make that next step and to just even really to keep it going?
It feels like every step
Mm,
was hard. And then
mhm.
you establish yourself through your work and people like the work. And so then you're okay. But like
Mm.
every time you take a step, it's hard. And this felt getting into music videos was hard. It was a lot of doing free work and just trying to put together a reel. And then finally, like there was a year that like everything started catching on. And then the next step was like, I want to do episodic. That was then hard because they were saying, well, directing music videos, not directing actors, it's not telling stories. And
Right,
I'm like, but it's style and taste. And isn't that harder to develop than like coverage and
right.
matter? It still took forever. Then I had to create content to be able to find my way in and wrote something and got something on TV that opened some doors for me. And then I thought, okay, I want to do limited series and premium work. That step was like every step was hard. And then you get into it and prove yourself. And that step is easy. And now there's another step that I'm about to take. It
Mm,
doesn't
mm.
feel as hard because premium at least says you can work with movie stars and, you know, do something that feels a little bit more specific.
It's crazy to me because I would not expect you to have to like still be fighting the same battle in that same way. And that's what's so disgusting about like the world, I suppose. And I don't want to make this conversation about that, but it's like she's Nzingha Stewart. Like she doesn't have to prove anything to you guys. And like now she's doing this. Like I super looked forward to talking to you because I really, really respect you. And I wanted to just ask, I just wanted to pick your brain. Yeah. And it's like, why is she having the same kind of conversation that I would have at my 9 to 5? It's disgusting. It's horrible. It's like, why do you have to do this? Yeah.
No,
It's
it's
hard.
gotten easier. I will say
Good.
now most of the battle is choosing and
Ah,
saying
okay.
like, what is the next project? What is the next thing? But it did feel like for a long time
Hmm.
took a minute.
Yeah. Yeah. I do want to talk about Daisy Jones and the Six, and I know you kind of came on a little bit later in the show. It's a very well celebrated show. People love it. Obviously, it's a very good show. But what made you choose this project, and why was it important to you to do it right now?
So many things made me choose the project. Working with Hello Sunshine again, who I have a
Yeah.
good relationship with. I enjoy working with them, and I am
Hmm.
starting to really understand how important that is.
Hmm.
Because all the energy that you feel on set goes into the project. It is
Hmm.
what shows up on screen. So when you
Hmm.
work with people you like, the work is better. Um, I also found out Scott Neustadter was writing it, and I have admired him since 500 Days of Summer.
Sure.
Um, I also, I come from music videos. I wanted to do something in that music space. I was at the time shooting From Scratch, which is a show I cried on every other day, just because of the content of it,
Mm.
and wanted something that was just fun and rock and roll and sexy, but not like I'd be crying all the time. And now people are coming up to me saying, like, I cried so hard when I saw the ending. I'm like, oh no, am I gonna be known as a person that makes you cry at the end
Head in hand.
right.
And Zinga, again, it's really different when you're a woman that treasures or likes to be behind the scenes. And I wonder what that's like for you, being that person that's taken seriously. It's like, yo, I'm that girl. I'm behind the scenes. Like, do you have to like, do you wrestle with like, people like personalities that just like don't like, no, listen, I'm here. I'm a Zinga.
A lot of times as Black women, we do suffer from imposter syndrome.
Yes.
We feel
Yep.
like, do I belong in this space? Am I good enough to be here? Like we question ourselves. And so there are times I take things way too personally because it's already feeding into sort of a fear that I have. And then, I will go away and like think about it and be like, wait a second. Like, I know, I almost have to run down my work in my head and be like, that was good, that was good, that was good. What do they all have in common? Me. Let me go back out and be like, no, we're not doing that.
Talk your ish.
Like, you still have to remind yourself, because there's that moment of like not trusting yourself. I remember on Daisy, we had a moment where the post-production people called and were like, the editors are freaking out. This footage isn't usable. It's not good. And I was like, what? And like, I almost had a panic attack, and I went away and I thought to myself, but I was seeing that footage. I was watching the monitor. I saw what we shot. And so I know that's not true. Let's get them on the phone and be like, what is the problem? And then we got them on the phone. They were like, well, this block looks nothing like the first block. And I was like, oh, that's the problem. It's not supposed to. Me and Scott had a long conversation.
Intentional.
Yeah, that's why I brought my own DP, my own first AD. Like, he wanted it to feel like two different movies about the same band. And one is the first movie where they're scrappy band from Pittsburgh. The second movie, they're Fleetwood Mac. And so, and they're on drugs, and there's sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and it's crazy, and they're fighting, and they're in love with each other, and it's a passion play. It's messy. It's handheld. Things are devolving. Things aren't always in focus. Like, all that's intentional. And they were like, oh, well, then it works. And I was like, yeah. Like, don't give me another heart attack like that. Next time, just ask. But it was one of those things where, like, I could have changed everything and tried to match the first block, but I did go away and have to ask myself and be like, no, I've been seeing the dailies. It looks great. Go back and see what they think the problem is.
So it's like not second guessing yourself, or like taking in what people say negatively, or what have you. Like, just being able to like confidently say, like, this is what I wanted, and this is intentional, and that's it.
Yeah, and I have handicap for my imposter syndrome now. Like, I say, I know I get afraid that I'm not enough in this scenario. Let me go test that. And then every once in a while, I'll be like, again, there's this. I can stop doing that. I know that I'm a good director. But like, maybe they're right. Maybe I should add this additional piece of coverage, and that would help the scene. Like, it's a fine line of like getting feedback and being like, fair point. It's good to have objective set of eyes. You want people to tell you the truth. And also knowing when, like, I know what I know. And
like, how do you feel about feedback though? Like, because if I say to you, like, hey, this is the thing, and like, maybe we should do this thing, like, how are you as a person about feedback? Because some people just don't like feedback, and I think that's kind of a little bit problematic.
Love feedback.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I'm willing to take it. Yeah.
Now, I will argue. It's like, I like it because then you see what comes out of that. So I do, I do like when someone says, there's XYZ, I think we could improve.
Maybe the thing. Yeah.
And then I'll say, but here's why. And sometimes I'll say, you're right, let's leave it alone. Or I'll say, even hearing myself push back, I realize your argument is stronger than mine. Let's do this. But ultimately, I always have to say, the responsibility is mine. I win or lose based on these decisions. So if I don't think what you're saying is right, I have to say no. Like, it's give me the feedback. I don't have to take it, but it's helpful to have.
I feel like as women, we're it's like we're almost always fighting. Like, people make it that way, like where they make it seem like we're always on the defense, and it's not that. It's just like, you guys are always like, it's like you're being combative to us. Yeah, that's why I respect your position. Yeah.
I do have to say, and I do this often, is this my ego? Like, am I being right? And then sometimes I will be like, yes, why not just give them that extra take or that extra thing they want? It's fine.
Sure. I'm like that too. Like, and I think that what's interesting about that is like, I feel like people see that as a weakness, but a lot of times to me, that's a strength because it's like, you
Yeah.
know what? I'm gonna give you this because you over here is throwing a temper tantrum, acting crazy.
Well,
I'm gonna
that
give
won't
you this.
affect
I'm
me.
gonna give you what
No, that won't affect me.
exactly.
Tantrum is the quickest way to end a conversation for me. I think it's like, if you come in a spirit of like, I think this could be stronger, then I'll listen to that.
Sure.
But if it's
Okay.
like, I want this is, then I'm
This
like,
is what it has to be. So yeah,
that is
because
not a good way to.
I think about like who gives the feedback to the director. Like we don't normally do that, right? Like we're always like telling like, girl, you could have acted a little bit better. Give me a little more in the scene. Do more, do this. But we
In
never talk to the
television,
director.
yeah, in
Ooh.
television, the director is not king. In television, the writer is king.
Mm,
It's interesting because in films, they're not even on set. So
mm,
you will have a showrunner have the final say,
mm,
at least at the very least in the edit. So there will
mm,
be times where I'll see a cut for the first time on TV like everybody else. I've turned
mm.
in my director's cut, but then I see the showrunner's cut, and I do think like, I wouldn't have done that, or I wish I had done that, or I wish I could have
Something different. Yeah.
gone in and helped them with this pass, because things that feel clunky to me that I know as a director I could have fixed, but they
Mm,
had the room last. You know what I mean? And then the
mm.
studio isn't even after them. So like, there are several stages between what I turn in as a director's cut and what the audience sees.
Okay.
Case in
You
point, the
got.
finale of Daisy Jones that I
I'm
turned
about to say because they're about to kill me. Like
feature
I
length.
have to. I
Yeah.
gotta get off this phone with you, or I'm gonna get in super trouble. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no. It's about to be horrible. So once again, my name is Koku blackfilm.com, and I was here with the legendary director Nzingha Stewart. Oh my God, like there's so many things. Like I literally could talk to you for hours. I have so many questions for you. Can't do it right now,
Another
but I will.
time.
That's
So
it.
much.
I text you good.
It's wonderful talking to you. Thank you.
No, it was wonderful talking to you. And guys, you know, she's here. She's been directing Daisy Jones and the Six, the last couple of episodes, no?
Yeah. A 6, 8,
Yeah,
9,
yeah.
and
No, that's super dope. And I super appreciate you. I think it's really cool to meet people that have like that aren't always necessarily in front of the camera, that like, you know, are kind of interesting. And like I said, Nzinga is pretty, child. She could be in front of the camera if she wants. Her and
nobody
her
wants to
husband,
see that.
they're pretty together.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nzinga. You are an inspiration to me, and I've literally followed your career for a very, very long time, and you are an inspiration to me. Thank you, and I'm glad I got to tell
You
you myself. I got to tell you.
made my night. You've
Thanks,
made my
Nzinga.
night. Thank you.
If you want to see more content like this on blackfilm.com, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring that bell.